Most signature abilities have direct ties to a Pokemon's individual lore or anatomy, so it makes sense that they stay limited to that one Pokemon or evolutionary line. Ditto's Imposter references its lore of copying genetic code, Pecharunt's Poison Puppeteer references how it controlled the Loyal 3, and a whole bunch of Pokemon have form-changing signature abilities that are distinct to just them. Some abilities, though, don't really have any ties to a Pokemon's lore or anatomy, or they have very vague ties and could easily be given to more Pokemon, which is what I'll be discussing in this video. By the way, I recently did this but for moves, which I recommend you check out as well. First up is Alolan Golem's Galvanize. This ability is the electric equivalent to the 8 abilities that are mostly given to Mega Evolutions, where it changes the user's normal moves into electric moves and provides a 1.2 times boost to those moves. Like I said in the moves video, physical attacking electric types really need better options, and if Game Freak isn't willing to give Volt Tackle or other physical electric signature moves more distribution, then giving Galvanize more distribution is our next best option. Pretty much every relevant physical attacker gets both Body Slam and Double Edge, so any Pokemon we give this ability to will have no problem in making it work. I think the best candidates would be Electivire, Luxray, and Electros. In addition to Body Slam and Double Edge, Electivire gets both Quick Attack and Feint, allowing it to have the unique property of physical electric priority, with Feint also breaking Protect and having the ability to hit Ghost types, with Ground types now being immune. Electivire only has 2 abilities, so this could just be given as a new secondary ability. Luxray also gets Quick Attack but not Feint, and Galvanize could replace Rivalry on it, and Electros gets Comet Punch, which was reworked in ZA and will probably get reworked again in Champions, but it would be unique in being a multi-hit electric move. This would be given as a hidden ability, and Game Freak has shown that they are willing to give Levitate Mons new abilities, by the way, as they did when Weezing was given Neutralizing Gas. Next up is Delcatty's Normalize. This is actually kind of the first of the 8 and Eyes abilities, except that it works in reverse, where instead of changing normal type moves into another type, it changes all other type moves into normal type. It wasn't until Gen 7 that it also got the 20% power boost, but even then, this is a pretty negative ability. It gives you no coverage and makes the normal type moves that already don't hit any other type for super effective slightly stronger. This ability does have a gimmicky strategy in Hackmons formats, which is putting it on a ghost type with entrainment to make it so that all of your opponent's attacks become normal type, which you would be immune to as a ghost type. However, a strategy involving just giving this ability to your opponent wasn't what I had in mind, and it wouldn't really make much thematic sense anyway, but rather giving it to Regigigas. I'm a big Regigigas advocate, since I think it was done so dirty and is just a massive victim of being released too early before the developers were willing to make things that were broken. Anyway, Normalize on Regigigas would take away all of its coverage, but it would also take away its terrible regular ability Slow Start. Not having coverage is also not entirely negative, since those moves will instead become Stab, and when combined with Normalize's 20% boost, its super effective coverage moves that usually have a 2 times multiplier only go down to having a 1.8 times multiplier. Sure, it gets walled by Ghost, but I'd rather have that than have to wait 5 turns for its attacks to do anything. Next up is Orthworm's Earth Eater. This ability is Ground-type Water Absorb, where it grants the user an immunity to Ground-type moves and heals up to 25% of the user's max HP when hit with a Ground move. This is especially good on Orthworm, as it turns its Ground weakness into an immunity. From a lore perspective, this is due to the fact that Orthworm is based on an earthworm, animals that eat dirt, which is also reflected in one of its Dex entries, where it's stated that it maintains its metal body by consuming iron from the soil. I found 2 Pokemon with lore revolving around consuming soil or iron in some way that would also massively benefit from a ground immunity, Steelix and Aggron. Steelix has multiple Dex entries that state how its body transformed as the result of iron accumulating internally from swallowing soil, which reflects its new steel typing that it gains upon evolving from Onyx. Like Earthworm, this would turn a ground weakness into an immunity, and on regular Steelix, it could replace Sheer Force since Steelix never really uses that ability, and on Mega Steelix, have it replace Sand Force too. For Aggron, it isn't described as eating soil, but rather iron while digging through tunnels, which I think is enough of a reason for it to get Earth Eater. This turns its 4 times ground weakness into an immunity and would replace Heavy Metal with Mega Aggron keeping Filter, since that ability is arguably better for a mono steel type. Next up is Cloth's Anger Shell. This ability makes it so that when the user gets to half HP or below, it decreases the user's defense and special defense, but increases attack, special attack, and speed by 1 stage. It must get to half or below from an attack, so it can't get the boost from self-inflicted damage like Substitute. This is a really cool ability, since it functions kind of like a mini Shell Smash, with the condition of losing half your health and lowering both defensive stats working out fine, since at that point, survivability isn't really your concern. You can make an argument for any Pokemon with a shell to get this ability, and I think Torterra and Turtonator would be the best candidates. They both get Shell Smash and the ability Shell Armor, which by the way I am replacing with Anger Shell for Torterra since it's a starter that only gets 2 abilities, and giving as a hidden ability for Turtonator since it only has Shell Armor currently. They are both built more defensively, but could definitely go on offense if given the right boosts, and Anger Shell as an option should help them out. While a substitute won't activate the ability, they could alternatively use Endure with a weakness policy in anticipation of a super effective move, or with a super effective move from a partner in doubles. Torterra has 2 great stab options with Headlong Rush and Wood Hammer, with Turtonator being more of a special attacker, getting Dragon Pulse and Flamethrower. Next up is Kilowattrel's Wind Power. This ability gives the user the charge effect when hit with a wind move or when Tailwind goes up on its side of the battlefield. The charge effect, by the way, causes the user's next electric type damaging move to have doubled power. Unlike Wind Rider, it does not provide an immunity to wind moves, which is one of the reasons why it's not the preferred ability of Kilowattrel, but rather competitive. 2 Pokemon that would appreciate Wind Power as a hidden ability alternative to their current ability of Levitate are Rotom Fan and Vikavolt. Ever since Gen 5, where the alternate Rotom forms were given different secondary types from Ghost, it has had a useless ability with Levitate since it's already immune to ground from its flying typing. If the Rotom forms ever get hidden abilities, I think Wind Power would be perfect for Rotom Fan as an electric type based on a device that produces wind. For Vikavolt, it doesn't really have any direct ties to wind, but it is an electric type known for flying, and I didn't want to pick another electric flying type since 2 of them are legendaries and the other ones already have fine abilities. Levitate is good on Vikavolt, but since it's part bug, it takes neutral damage from ground without Levitate, so not having it wouldn't be a big deal. Neither of them get Tailwind, but just have an ally set it in a double battle and you're good. Next up is Drifblim's Flare Boost. This ability makes the user's special moves 50% stronger when burned. It's not very good on Drifblim though, because it would much rather be using Unburden instead, since a 2 times speed boost that doesn't cause residual damage every turn is generally more valuable to it than a 1.5 times special attack boost that does cause residual damage. The lore behind this ability is that Drifblim is based on a hot air balloon, which functioned by burning an open flame to increase buoyancy. While there aren't any other hot air balloon Pokemon, Poltegeist and Sinistcha are based on teapots, something else that wants to be heated but for a different reason. These 2 Pokemon would absolutely be able to take advantage of Flare Boost, with it being especially good on Poltegeist since it also gets Shell Smash. It could Shell Smash turn 1, have its Flame Orb activate at the end of the turn, and get an insane boost to its offense. It might even be too strong on Poltegeist because of Shell Smash, but it would be quite balanced on Sinistcha. It gives it a more offensive ability since both its current abilities are more defensive, and it could spend turn 1 setting up Trick Room to wait for its Flame Orb to go off. With Sinistcha getting Strength Sap and its signature move Matcha Gotcha, it has a consistent way of healing back its HP from the residual burn chip. Next up is Corviknight's Mirror Armor. This ability bounces back stat drops to the opponent, so for example, an Intimidate would lower the Intimidate Pokemon's attack, not the Mirror Armor Pokemon's attack. This isn't great in singles, since Intimidate isn't as common and valuable, but it is decent in doubles with how common Incineroar is, especially since Incineroar hits Corviknight for super effective with fire, so it's an answer to that usually bad matchup. The lore behind this ability comes down to how Corviknight's body is covered in metallic armor that reflects those stat drops to its opponents. I think some fitting Pokemon that could get this ability are Duraludon and Registeel. They are both steel types with reflective metal bodies, with Duraludon's body even being described as having a mirror finish in the Pokédex. Mirror armor could replace the near useless light metal on both of them, giving Duraludon a niche over Archaludon and giving Registeel pretty much just a straight up better version of Clear Body. Other than bouncing back Intimidate, stat drops from things like Icy Wind, Breaking Swipe, and Snarl would all be bounced back too. Lastly, we have some honorable mentions for abilities that aren't quite signature, but very close in that they are only given to 2 or 3 evolutionary lines of Pokemon. First up is Download, which is currently given to the Porygon line in Genesect. This ability increases the user's attack or special attack by 1 stage upon switch-in, depending on which stat of the opponent is lower. These two Pokemon have something in common, which is that they are both artificially made, with Porygon being described as consisting entirely of programming code, and Genesect originally being a fossil Pokemon that was then altered by Team Plasma. So, other artificially made Pokemon would be great candidates, and I think Mewtwo, Type Null, and Iron Valiant would fit best. Mewtwo because please just give this thing a good ability, Type Null, not Silvally, because I feel like it wouldn't really make sense for Silvally to have any ability other than just RKS system, and Iron Valiant because it seems to be the most man-made out of all the future Paradox Pokemon, although Iron Thorns probably needs it most because it's the worst. Next almost signature ability is Solid Rock. This ability reduces super effective damage by 25%, so 2 times weaknesses deal 1.5 times damage, and 4 times weaknesses deal 3 times damage. This is currently limited to Camerupt, Rhyperior, and the Caracosta line. Plenty of Rock-type Pokemon could be described as solid, and they would also majorly benefit due to Rock having so many weaknesses. Regirock, Bastiodon, Tyrantrum, Golem, and Sudowoodo would all appreciate their weaknesses being toned down. Last honorable mention goes to Fur Coat. This ability doubles the user's defense and is currently limited to Furfrou and Alolan Persian. It was originally signature to Furfrou, a Pokemon based on a poodle that has multiple different trims, but was then given to Alolan Persian, a Pokemon that's described as having a classy coat. There are probably plenty of Pokemon that could get this ability, but Cinccino and Lopunny are just a couple that I thought of. Cinccino because of how its fur is described as amazing to touch and coated in a special oil that makes it easy for it to deflect attacks, and Lopunny for a similar reason, its fur is described as soft and fluffy. And those are some signature abilities that should be given to more Pokemon. Let me know what Pokemon I missed as candidates for these abilities, and what other abilities you think should become more widespread. Anyway, if you want to support me and my channel, just leave a nice comment since I do read all comments. You can also become a member for 99 US cents a month to get a badge next to your name and early video access like all of these lovely people. If you want bonus content, check out my second channel, Extra Bell, where I post videos I've scrapped from the main channel, as well as more casual, unscripted videos. Likes are also one of the ways that YouTube determines if a video should be passed around to more people, so if you feel that this video deserves to be, I would appreciate it. Thanks for watching.